Being a high school student athlete can be tough for any teenager, but for Austin Hardin and Faythe Newberry, there's a whole new level of toughness, dealing with type 1 diabetes.
So I was diagnosed on August 17th of 2011, and it was the week before my 8th grade year. I had the flu for the first part of the week, and towards the end of the week, I started having some labored breathing, and so I started having some of the other signs of frequent urination and frequent thirst, and I ended up getting in the hospital with a diabetic coma. So my body started eating at the fat and using it for sugar, and so it basically took my body to the weakest point.
I was diagnosed March 9th, 2011, right after 7th grade year. I was really fatigued, so my mom was looking up symptoms of diabetes, and fatigue was one of them. I drank a lot of water. There's like 9 or 10 water bottles in my room. My grandma has diabetes, so I borrowed her meter, and that morning I checked myself, and I was in the 300s, so my mom rushed me over to Springfield Hospital, and then a couple hours later, they said if I didn't come to the hospital, I would have passed out and ended up in the ICU and been in a lot worse condition than I was, and then that's when I found out I had diabetes.
It's definitely been a challenge to play sports and have type 1. I've found myself sometimes on the court where I know my blood sugar is low or high, and I just don't want to come off the court, so I don't tell my coach, and then I'll go check later, and I'll just deal with it later. But there has been a couple times where it's gotten to a severe point, so I tell myself like I need to take care of it in order to not be back where I was at square one or be back in the hospital again. So just making sure that I catch it at an early time and take care of it when it needs to be taken care of.
At first, I was afraid that I couldn't do everything I wanted. I was afraid I couldn't play sports anymore. But I was there for about 2 or 3 days, and the nurses came in and said, hey, I can still play sports and do everything I want. I can still eat everything I want. I just have to take care of myself. After that, I felt pretty good about it because it could have been worse. I could have had cancer or something and not been able to do everything I wanted. So I just had to stay positive and tell myself it could be worse.
She has like the newest kind of up-to-date pump, I would say. She has like a bolus that she wears constantly, so it is constantly giving her a certain amount of insulin, and she can wear it throughout the game. So she doesn't have to take her pump off to go play. Her pump constantly checks, so it's constantly giving me a number. So even if she does go below this certain number, I can quick look over and then I see, hey, this is this number, why don't you take or eat a glucose tab, that kind of thing. So we can constantly check and be more aware.
It's definitely helped me to stay on the court longer rather than when I was on injections having to come off during a timeout or just having to have the coach sub me out to take that shot, rather than I can come out during a timeout and tell my insulin pump to give me that insulin, and I can go right back in the game and know that insulin is safely inside of me.
Big games, he had a real hard time keeping his numbers at a safe level for him. And when his numbers got out of control, his performance suffered. And you could just read it on his face. He didn't even have to tell you what his numbers were. You knew that there was something going on with him. Well, now that we have this pump this season, knock on wood, he has maintained very good numbers. He's playing better. In my opinion, he's playing better. And he seems like he's able to actually focus on sport, basketball right now, instead of worrying about what those numbers are.
I don't have to give shots anymore. I just changed the site. It's like a sticker. It's basically one injection for every 3 days, and I just click a bunch of numbers and it automatically gives me my insulin. So that's helpful because at first I didn't like shots in the first place, so I had to overcome that fear. So that was kind of tough, but it's a lot better now. It helps me maintain my blood sugar throughout the day. And especially during games, it'll help lower, and I won't have the crazy highs like I did.
My coaches have done a really good job of trying to learn what some of my symptoms are, and knowing that when I'm on the court, if I start spacing out, that's a definite sign to have me check my blood sugar. And then Mr. Gervey, our AD, has done a really good job of partnering with me to make sure that I have access to sugary snacks or sugary drinks if my blood sugar is low and I'm not equipped with the proper supplies to treat those, that I have access to those things to help my blood sugar.
And there's a lot of people that help me get through it. Like my parents are both nurses, so they help me get through it. My coaches and my trainer. It's hard to get through life by yourself, so it's nice to have people there to help you get through it. I tell them to treat me like any other teammate. I don't want to have any, I tell them I'm just a normal kid, so if you have a problem, get on me. Don't cut me any slack, because I just want to be treated as normal as possible. So if I'm having an off night, they'll get on me, and then after the game, they'll like say, hey, how was your blood sugar and everything, and they'll kind of like apologize. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's no big deal or whatever. Everybody has a bad night or whatever. So
last summer, I was given the opportunity to attend diabetes camp as a counselor last year. It really opened my eyes to see that these kids, any kid can get it, but at the same time, any kid can achieve things while having it.
Sophomore year, I did a project or like a presentation on Jay Cutler. He has type 1 diabetes, and he has an insulin pump like I just got about a month ago. So that helped me realize, and reading about his life story and how he takes care of it, so that kind of helped me get through it.
One of the athletes that I look up to the most is Jay Cutler, who plays for the Bears, and all the work he's done for like children's foundations and some of the scholarships that he provides money for really encourages me to continue to play sports and continue to make people knowledgeable. I've definitely taken the responsibility of trying to make people knowledgeable of what type 1 is, because some people really don't know the difference, and there is a huge difference between type 1 and type 2 and even the other smaller forms of diabetes as well.
There's a lot of people out there that have it, and they need to know that everything's going to be all right. You're still going to be able to do everything you want to in the future for the most part. You're not the only one out there, and there's going to be bad days and good days. And the bad days, you just got to keep moving forward, and the next day hopefully will be a better day.